right, I think we are live. Yes, everything looks good. Welcome, everyone. So this is our third time, third time doing this. First time was a disaster. The camera went off and all that. It was a disaster. Anyway, this time we're going to be talking Gaza, Syria. We have a guest speaker. We'll introduce him soon. Remember, put your question, and there's an icon with a question mark on the right. Click on it, put your question in. You can even vote on questions. We will start actually answering the questions in at 8:10, but we'll get time for people to jump on and post their questions and keep going. We'll go about 60 minutes. I'm going to try to make sure that all the answers are around 5-minute mark, just so we can get as many questions answered as possible. And let me see, talked about those things. I said Gaza, Syria, but also ask any question you want. This is a time that we can help help make our supporters feel heard. Full transparency. Any question isn't off limits. Whatever you guys want to ask, we'll answer to the best of our knowledge. You'll see here, Mark has his camera off. There's some security stuff that we just have to make sure that we don't cross certain lines, especially when we're talking Gaza, Syria. But you guys can ask anything, financial, personal, whatever it is. Nothing's off limits. We'll put ourselves on the hot seat. Let me see. If you want, if there's anything that you hear on this stream that you want to unpack a little more, because we can't really go into full detail. We have to be kind of general, but we try to give as much information as possible. But if you want to connect with me personally, info@catalyticministries.com. Amy, my wife here, is the one manning that email, and she's doing a million other things like HR and grants and all this other stuff. But you'll be talking with her, but set up a meeting. I'd love to talk with you. We always say the kingdom of God is a family. If we make family, we win. So yes, reach out, connect, set up a meeting. We can get into way more detail when there's a personal connection. So I'll introduce to you here, Mark. I was going to call him Pastor Lovejoy, but he was like, nah, don't say that. But Mark, I don't want to really get into too much of his background, but he is the reason why my camera can be on and his camera has to be off. He is operating inside the Middle East. He is the reason why we're able to vet and operate and do all the things, all the covert stuff. This guy has been operating in the Middle East for many, many, many years, beyond ministry even. So he is just a massive blessing. His wife also is a massive blessing. Shout out to her. We'll jump. Let me see. That's only 3 minutes. We'll just keep rolling. So I want to talk about some free resources that we have. So first, if you go to our website, catalyticministries.com, you'll see a new feature, a new chatbot. So you can ask this thing anything you want and test it out. And we just put it up on a couple weeks ago. If you have any questions about GCM, we're training it on the information. So we're pretty good on locking down the security side of it, but feel free to ask any questions that you might have. This technology, right? It's going to kill us all. Sign up for our newsletter. And so every month we put out newsletters, and we really want to share what God is doing throughout the whole month on that newsletter. So if you want to stay up to date with what we're doing and what God is doing around the world, definitely sign up for the newsletter. And free book 25. If you haven't gotten your copy of the Forgotten Manifesto of Jesus, if you have gotten the copy and we're coming up on Christmas and you want to purchase 10 of them and give 10 of them away, 20 of them away, whatever it is, you can use that free book 25 code and you'll get them for free. Give them to your friends, family, small group, church leadership, whatever it is. It's a good Christmas gift. Definitely get as many and pass them out. The awesome thing is one of our donors just very generously paid for all the books and says, get them out. She read it and is like, everyone has to read what is in these pages. So we just want to distribute these things to as many people that we can. We also have it on audiobook. So if you're like me, I'm an audiobook guy. So we have it on audiobook, all the audiobook channels that you might like, but can't use the free book code. But again, it's great if you love audiobook. Also, free course. We have a free course if you're interested in making disciples and learning how we do it, our approach in the Middle East and beyond. That course really is taught by our coaches in the field in their own heart languages. You'll see just different flavors and stuff. It's a really cool course. We start with intimacy, worship, prayer, intercession, kind of our identity and who He is, and then reach the lost is a second module, and then we go into the church, the gathering of believers. Cool thing though, we are writing our second book. I just got the second book copy, the first pass of our second book, focused on the church. So the first book is about making disciples, reaching lost people, being a disciple of Jesus. Then the second book is like, okay, how does that turn into the gathering? What does the gathering look like? And it's so controversial. We've interviewed a bunch of people around the world, movement leaders from all over the world, within the context, what are they seeing? And we're writing our second book that should be coming out in January. But I just got my hands on the first. I read the first 20-something pages right before this, so really excited for that. Now the store, we have a store. 100% of the proceeds go to the underground church. You'll see, shirts and hats and all these different things. Like I said before, we're not interested we're not an apparel company. We make disciples. This is what we do. But we're trying to get creative in different streams to help support what is going on over there. Again, making disciples, specifically in the most unreached places, is one of the most underfunded ministries of the church. So we got to get creative in how to do this. But coming Christmas, if you give a gift to somebody, you're also giving a gift to the underground church with the resources that come in. So 100% of the proceeds go out in the field. For a couple more minutes, if you don't know about GCM, well, first, I am Mike Patino, CEO of GCM. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm a retired City of Miami fireman, became CEO a couple years ago. And so GCM, we make disciples in the most unreached places on earth and beyond. We're in 70 plus countries, but we focus mainly on the Middle East 1040 window. But we have disciple makers and coaches all over the world, as Jesus has asked us to make disciples of all nations, every nation, tribe, and tongue. We are entering into the end of the year, and that is just vital for giving. And we're trying to raise $300,000 to support 50 plus disciple makers in that region, in the Middle East region, 1040 window. And we are really wanting to raise $300,000 above our operation. So please pray for us. Please pray for the hearts to be moved, for family to happen. Because a lot of times it's like, okay, give money and all that. Really what we want to do is connect our hearts. We want to be family with each other. Because again, where we operate and what we do, it takes a lot of trust. It takes relationship. And we got to just connect personally with each other. And then in those personal relationships, we can have those deep, detailed conversations about how we do it. We just can't put a lot of things on blast. It's really difficult. But please pray for us going into this season. We want to raise funds again for this Gaza, Syria, Middle East full operation, what we're talking about in the Middle East. I can say just really quick, got a couple more minutes before we'll hit on the questions. Again, hit that question mark. We got 3 questions already. Vote on the questions. Put your questions in. Whatever one is voted on the most will rise to the top. Amy will ask the questions, and then Mark and I will rock and roll and try to answer the best we can within 5 minutes. And we'll just kind of keep moving on with that. Again, you can ask questions about Gaza, Syria. I will say that our operation is already underway in Syria. We have one there. We have our first baptism of a Druze woman a couple weeks ago, and we have another one that has infiltrated there. The one with the baptism actually is in a town that all the Christians were martyred there, and we were able to embed and start to see fruit already in this operation. Again, this is what we do. We are not bound by resource. We're going to go, and we believe the Lord is going to provide as we go. And this, our second one that went in, actually, we got a report from her. Mark sends me a text, and it was, "Hey, everything is okay, but this is what happened." She gets stopped, gunfire, gets stopped and captured at the border trying to get in, and she's interrogated. And just the story of her even just talking about how she was just proclaiming, like, the Lord is my strength, whom shall I fear? She just kept proclaiming these things, and then the person just like let her go. It was just miraculous just to see kind of her progression, her vulnerability, and then just what she proclaimed, the truth that she proclaimed, even in the fear. She captured the fear and just her process and how she just dealt with it. And she gets in and, you know, finds what we were looking for, and now we are establishing that area there as well. So it's just everything we're doing here is just really risky. They're putting their lives on the line, and they're really counting the cost. And so anyway, that's okay. 10 minutes. When it comes to Gaza, we got to be even more kind of covert. We have multiple places that we're able to kind of come in. Mark can maybe extrapolate a little bit on it and what we're going to look. What are we looking at? What is the atmosphere there, just in the field in both of these areas? But maybe he'll even expound on just the Middle East operation as a whole. So in our organization, again, we make disciples. We're not doing projects. We don't do the accepted project. Gaza, Syria is not a project. The Middle East, how to operate within the Middle East is this is just how we have to do it. We are currently in Mecca, which is the heart of Islam, Egypt, which is the mind of Islam, Israel, which is the apple of God's eye, Libya, which is strategic within ports and entryways into North Africa and the West. And Gaza and Syria are very strategic as well. Syria, again, is a gateway, a highway, and we want to embed strong Christian strongholds in all of these areas, not just to glorify the Lord and make disciples, but it's also vital for the strategy, for the safety of our people, also the movement of things and resources and relief. It all goes hand in hand. It is everything working together, the whole team working together, being trained and moving. And safety is big as well. So we all have places that people can go to in case of crisis or in case of persecution, things like that. So Mark has really he's the point on the safety and security aspects of it, and he's done a marvelous job. So we'll go into the questions. 2 minutes over. Sorry about that. Amy, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So, question number one, it has 3 votes. Linda posted this one. Thank you, Linda. She asked, do you partner with other ministries?
Actually, this is a perfect question for Mark to take right off the bat.
Yeah, it's really good to be here today and to share a little bit what God's doing. We'll say yes. We 100% partner with other ministries. We are not exclusive. We do not just do things by ourselves on the ground. In fact, it is essential that we partner with other ministries in order to do what we do. So there are some things that we do with humanitarian work that are other ministries that are door openers for us. There are other people that are workers on the ground, other missionary orgs that we come alongside with. Maybe we're training them, maybe we're embedded alongside them. But we do work with other ministries within the Middle East and globally. So it is strategic partnerships and friendships and relationships where we build family with each other. We don't just have working relationships, because in that region you have to be family. We trust each other, we work together, we have each other's backs, and so it's a common thing. Every time I'm there, we work very much with other ministries, and there's at any given day there are other ministries together worshiping in my house. We worship together, we minister together, we go out on the streets, we do house churches together, we all work together.
Yeah, and it's like, again, the kingdom of God is a family, and just so often the church is divided. Not a lot of people operate in this region, so it just, how do we come together even in our
Yeah.
differences? It's been really beautiful to see how Mark has bridged that gap and how that division has turned into unity. And everything we do within the there's 2 specific organizations, large organizations, and we're just serving them. And we serve them well, we love them well, and that's how we partner. And they've gleaned stuff from them, from us, and we've gleaned stuff from them, and we learn from each other. There's been really cool nuances to some of the things that we've adjusted, even like hearing from some of them that has operated in certain areas. So it is vital. Partnership is like, yeah, we're a family trying to advance the gospel in a very harsh environment. So, oh yeah, partnership is just
We're
near and dear.
sharpening each other all the time. We're always sharpening each other because everything we do, it's like it's constantly in flux, it's constantly in change, and so we learn from each other every day.
And there's a security aspect of it. When the wheels come off, and the wheels come off a lot, there we have to be there for each other because each one has just different access and different abilities, if you will. So it's, yeah, partnership, definitely. That was only not even 3-minute answer right there. Boom.
Awesome. Okay, next question. What are you doing in Gaza? Brenda asked that one. Thank you, Brenda.
And then we got seven likes on that one. So we can't. If you hear me pause, I'm trying to like filter in real time. It's And again, Mark can even just like, Mike, be quiet. It takes, there's a strategic partnership with certain organizations that aren't typical and common because we have to be covert, and we're going to be vetted, and the types of people that are going in is not going to be normal, and it's going to be different. We got to build also multiple ways in and multiple ways out just in case things go south. So it's very complex. However, it's very important. Gaza, for me, like if you just look at it, the whole world is focused on this one strip, and everyone's claiming this strip for themselves. And we're like, nah, we're going to claim this for Jesus. If we can go into the houses and gain access by very complex and strategic means. Again, I don't want to say how we're doing it. Definitely can't say a lot of detail there. But if we can find people of peace and they can start making disciples there and movement starts happening, this land is for the Lord. And we keep saying that no one is too far from the Lord. Not Hamas, not Hezbollah, not the Taliban, not the Ayatollah, no one. So we want to bring Jesus to everyone we can in all the regions that the world says we should hate these people, or we should hate this area, or who you for, all the division that's happening. The world is looking at this one strip, and we're going to say, like, under the nose of these people, we're going to go and make disciples for Jesus. Mark, I don't know if you want to add something more to what I said about what are we doing in Gaza?
I would say I'll give you just some very simplistic things that I can answer without violating security protocols. But I would say we have people that are trained in multi-faceted ministry things, but also like civilian secular occupations that allow access. So it's not just ministry workers, it is secular type people who are trained in disciple making, that have skill sets that are needed within the region, that are brought in because of rebuilding, because of trauma, because of medical, because of a host of things, and that allows us access in to move in and about the country, but also be able to do what we do, which is make disciples, and doing that while actually doing a legitimate work on the ground, not just going in there and saying, hey, we're missionaries and we're proselytizing. No, we're doing legitimate work on the ground, serving the people. And there's a lot of trauma in that entire region. It's a war-torn country where people have been displaced for several years now, where you have people that are homeless, people that are starving, you have people that are multiple levels of trauma. And so our teams are well versed in how to handle that and how to engage that type of population. So it's they have experience and are being trained, for those that aren't, in trauma-informed care, working alongside whatever they do, because every single person there has some level of trauma. So it's a holistic concept of engagement. It's not just, hey, we're trying to go in and tell a bunch of people and begin this work. It's levels upon levels of integration within that dynamic there. So it's a long work. It's not a quick work. It will take many, many, many years. It's not just a quick project. It is a long term. We're gonna lay foundation and stay. So it's really a lot of prayers needed. Support is needed. People are needed to do the work. It is an intense work, and it's a very tiresome work.
Yeah, and we're currently training people for this specific operation right now, and
Yeah,
vetting them and making sure that we're good. But basically, they're going to let us in without even knowing they're letting in disciple makers. It's that
yep,
covert. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of logistics involved that we already started building, and looking like we're going to hopefully first quarter of next year launch that.
yes,
And again, we don't do projects. We stay. We make disciples, and the disciples stay. We stay in these areas, and we embed in these areas. So this isn't like we swoop in for a couple of weeks and then we bail out, and then we don't know what happens. No, we're staying. This is part of our strategy within the Middle East. 30 seconds over. It's all good. Made up for it. The first question.
All right, we've got some great engagement on the chat. So, okay, great job, guys. All right, here we go. Fred asks, how do you locate and train disciple makers in Gaza and Syria?
All right.
yeah,
Mark, you want to start first, or?
yeah. I can say we have a team lead on the ground operating in Syria as we speak. I was on the phone today having a conversation, and we are moving about the country, and we have another uh, team member moving in within the next 12 days. Within the next 12 days. So, and then from there, we'll be expanding the team based on how we build disciples. And so it is about local indigenous people. So we are not trying to bring a bunch of outsiders in. We're trying to raise up from within uh, Syria itself. So we have one Westerner, and the others are everyone else is indigenous, and everyone else will be indigenous locals. We have people that will access into different places that are embedded into Shia areas, into Druze areas, into hard to reach areas. And right now, it's a pretty hard to reach area, and so every part of the country is scrutinized right now by multiple
Yep.
people, multiple powers. Turkey, Russia, America, and Israel are all vying for pieces there. So, but we have people that we baptize, and people that come into the fold, and those become disciple makers and run with us.
Yeah, and it's going to be a multi-phase. Uh, we're training up about 50 right now, and within Gaza, Syria, we might sprinkle in a few here and there. Again, you can't just send in a bunch of people. Just as the Lord opens up the doors, we're going to send in multiple phases of people, and just to strengthen kind of what we're doing over there, because we can't. Again, it's really complex to get into these places. The other thing is what you said. One Westerner. Westerners, our whole thing is indigenous leaders, but Westerners are very strategic within this region as well. They get respect, and there's people treat Westerners a little different, so you can even leverage that. But ultimately, indigenous leaders. So, for instance, one of them had an opportunity to go to a different country, a Western country, and make some money. And she felt the Lord say to reach her people, her Shia people, and she decided to go in to one of these two areas, and and make disciples and lay her life down to reach her people, because she had to flee when she became a believer, and she had to flee her family, and she's decided to go back in to reach her people. So again, it's indigenous people that are just they've tasted and seen that the Lord is good, and they want to share that with their people, that there's no plan B. One of our coaches were like, I asked them, hey, what do you want us to do if the wheels come off? And there was like a situation that was like, okay, a really intense situation. I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you need me to come in? Do you like whatever it is? And they're like, well, there's no plan B. We know the cost, and if the wheels come off, then we accept it. And so this is just the reality of the operation. However, Mark and I are always like, okay, if these scenarios happen, then so we always game these types of things out, which is pretty stressful and weighty. Let me see. Yeah, I think that was it. Those are my notes. You want to add anything, Mark, to that question?
I think it's just our goal in 2026 is to really expand into Syria across all the regional areas that are in different areas of control. There's an area that's under control of Israel. There's an area that's kind of under control of Russia. There's an American influence area. There is a really an ISIS kind of controlled area that we're going to be infiltrating all of those areas. So as long as God keeps opening the door with people of peace, we will keep moving into those areas and seeing the gospel take root in that nation, because it is a pure harvest field right now. People are
hungry,
desperate. There's hopelessness. There's hunger, and this is the perfect moment for Jesus to be revealed to such a people like this.
Yeah, and we just got like 20 pictures in from one of our people inside of an ISIS camp, and they're making disciples and stuff. So it's, again, the Lord is moving. You're not going to hear this in the mainstream news, but God is moving in the hearts of people, and just we're trying to gain access and just share. But another thing that we're doing there is trying to teach Christians how to make disciples underground, so that their lives aren't it'll mitigate the risk, but they can engage people. That's one of the strengths within our approach to things. You can make disciples and really limit the revealing of you being a Christian for a very long time, until a relationship happens, until an encounter with the Lord Himself happens. So that's why we're able to really operate for over a decade in the Middle East. All right, next question.
Great job, guys. Next question. Brian asks, what's the state of the church in Gaza? How many Christians are in that region? What's it been like for Jesus followers to live under the influence of Hamas?
That's pretty brutal, Mark. You want to take that one?
Yeah, I would say right now, before the 2023 war, there was estimated 900 to 1,000 Christians within Gaza. Okay, and there's about 2 million people there. As of right now, there's estimated around 500. So in the entire region, so it's really they are really isolated, and they are really in two compounds. They're within a Greek Orthodox area and within a Catholic Church area, and that's where they're all consolidated. And it's almost as if they're in a refugee camp there as well. So it's a pretty brutal situation, because they're dealing with multiple levels, not just from Hamas, but from the war itself. So you're dealing with issues with Hamas. You're dealing with issues with bombing coming from shelling, because the church itself was hit by an Israeli airstrike at one point. So like there's multiple things happening. So I would say one of the hardest things is the believers themselves are very discouraged. They're discouraged. They're trying to press through. It's like, okay, where is the rest of the church? And that's why we feel desperately the need to come in. How do we stand with? How do we see multiplication in this area, and how do we see the kingdom of God expand across the region?
Yeah, and you saw when the peace deal happened, then you saw Hamas, cheering in their eyes, it's like Takia, they do a peace deal, but they know they're just pausing to strengthen, and that it's a victory for them. That's kind of how they were looking at it. One of our Israeli coaches were talking about kind of just the suicide rates within the survivors that were captured, but also the suicide rates from the family members of the ones who didn't make it, and also just the bittersweetness of that peace deal of having to give up 2,000 Hamas terrorists back to them to get out. So that peace deal is just really bittersweet. But again, like Mark and I have been talking about, like, okay, we're bringing the peace, the Prince of Peace, right? The true peace deal that's going to make a difference, because they're desperate for that. And you saw Hamas just lining up the people of the Palestinians and stuff, just lining them up and gunning them down right after that peace deal. So you can just imagine the pressure, the weight, if you've been watching some of these videos, just the terror, even like the use of children and stuff. Yeah, you can imagine the state of the church, just the people there, just the life, the living, the food scarcities and things like that. It's just not great.
We done? Anything else?
Yeah. Sorry.
I think
All
so.
right.
I think it's right.
Great job, guys. Okay. Can you share? This is Pam and Kevin ask, can you share any details about operating in Mecca? Great question.
So I'll say we're 30 minutes in. We got 30 minutes left, so we'll keep this rolling. Keep your questions, voting, and all that
There's
stuff.
lots of questions.
Yes, awesome. Mecca. So I'll say this first thing, that everywhere we go, we have to go in and actually meet, communicate, build relationship with. Again, this is a family. We meet with everybody. We build life with everybody. We're connected as a family, as a global family. But that's one of our values. Mark and I's value is to make sure that we're building a relationship in person. There's in person, and then we're on the field, checking everything out. So we had to get him in, and just his experience there and him having to wear everything is pretty fun. But I don't know, Mark, if you want to share one of my favorite. That'll give up too much detail, so I won't even go there. Mark, you want to talk about Mecca when you were there, just kind of what you sensed, and a little bit about the operation there. Just before everyone, I'll just say we have in 1,400 years of Mecca, never had a baptism until last year. We had 6 baptisms last year, and we've planted the first underground church that we know of there this year. And not much to say more, but Mark, if you want to unpack a little bit about that.
I would say Mecca is probably one of the hardest areas that we do operate in because of the high security. Officially, there are no Christians in Mecca, officially, but unofficially, we can confirm that there are Christians in Mecca because we have a church operating in Mecca that is there, and so it is a very difficult area to move around. There's security in every place. There are people from every nation flowing in and out of Mecca. I was there last year, went in all the way to the Kaaba, went all the way in, and it is one intense experience, and you can feel the weight of what we are dealing with in the region. We can feel the weight of the seriousness and the severity of what we are really dealing with in that region. When you see 50,000, 100,000 people flooding into the mosque all hours of the night, praying with fervor and intensity, and coming from every tribe, nation, and tongue across the planet. And then I just could feel the grief of the Lord. I could feel the grief of the Lord of people that have been deceived. and are worshiping the wrong king. And so the weight of when you see that and you feel it, you feel the urgency. You feel there is an urgency and that we are woefully like not doing the Great Commission on a global scale, and that it needs to be done because you see they're actively engaging in that. And so for us entering into that place and baptizing people and having the first baptisms in 1400 years, it is the tip of the spear. And
Yep.
it is it's high risk but high value because they know they don't allow a single Christian into that place. It is forbidden. It is completely illegal. But because they know that Christianity and that the power of God and the Holy Spirit will spread. And that's what they're afraid of. And so it's already starting, and it's only a matter of time. Because once you're baptizing people, and once now there's a church there, it's going to spread, and we're gonna see Mecca saved. We're gonna see that whole nation saved.
Yeah. So again, complex. So they're praying 5 times a day. If you are caught kind of not doing the prayer right, everything's scrutinized, and that's a tell. The ritual washing; these are tells. And when he was there, and other disciple makers that were there, there were intense situations of like, oh, they get caught in a moment, and it's just really risky. And some of the things that we're hearing from the field there is that, again, the pilgrimages is the most visited place on the planet in the history of mankind. But they go there and they spend so much resource and the life savings, because like they have to come here and they have to touch this thing, and just the desperation. I remember Mark telling me, just he was broken, but the desperation, he was being crushed as he's going around this thing, and he's being crushed by the wave of people so desperate. But they leave. A lot of people leave this and is kind of dissatisfied because they're looking for this experience with God, with Allah, and this experience, and they're left dissatisfied. And so this is what we're wanting to bring in the hope of Christ in their lives and be present in this area. So as people are coming in, we're able to just build relationships, and then they go out from there. So again, pray. It's really, I wanted to say a few more things. Oh, and also that they have these private clubs that look just like Miami Beach, just like so it's like this holy site, this holy place, but really it's just like everything else. The debauchery and all that is still present. And another thing that some of our people do is when they're there, they go around this satanic symbol, and they proclaim that area for the Lord. They pray against the principalities. As they're praying 5 times a day, they're praying towards the Lord and praying for the city, and praying for the people of peace to be revealed and the Lord to guide them and protect them. So this is what they're doing constantly.
Yes.
So it's a different rhythm operating in that specific city for sure.
And again, it's pretty intense because at any moment you can get caught. Like you're one mistake, you wear the wrong sandals, you kneel the wrong way, you don't wash the right way, you make a mistake, and everybody is watching. Security is watching, people are watching, everybody's watching. So there's a million eyes on you there. Soldiers, security, regular police. So it's a very high risk, high intensity environment.
All right, guys. Next question. Fred asks, David Watson said, "You don't find persons of peace, they find you because they see in you what they want. With that in mind, how do persons of peace find you?"
So just for context, David Watson is a practitioner of DMM, disciple making movement. We use some of those techniques within how we reach lost people. We have strengthened the intimacy, worship, prayer, intercession piece of it. And gathering of believers piece of it. So this is just a process of reaching lost people based on Luke 10, Matthew 10 of Jesus sending the disciples out 2 by 2 to find the people of peace. The ones who receive, you stay. The ones who reject, wipe the feet, the dust off your feet and move on to the next. Really testing hunger for that. So the idea of not finding people of peace find you. It's about being out in the community, about building relationships. It's the Lord will highlight certain people that have influence over the areas, the cities, the towns, business people, things like that. But ultimately, it's not one or the other. It is Jesus sent them out, and they went to their house. And so it's not just this one size, like, oh, you're just standing in the middle of a park, and then like a bee and honey, just the people of peace just are attracted to you. But I will say, when it comes to the Holy Spirit and being fruitful and walking with the Lord, when you enter these areas, you shine bright, and they sense the joy and the peace and the love and these types of things. So that is attractional. The salt, you're the salt of the earth, so that is attractional to people who are desperate. And in those relationships, kind of our process really quick is we start with simple, serious spiritual conversations. So we're building relationships. This is not just street preaching, hey, fire and brimstone type of thing. It all starts relational. And then from that, their God need will be revealed. So if they're engaging in conversation and their God need, like I'm desperate or I'm depressed or I'm suicidal, whatever their need is, then our people will test hunger and I'm super desperate, or I'll do anything to not feel this way. And that is when we engage our process of Bible stories and questions, and that's kind of when we start our thing. Mark, you want to add anything to the finding people of peace?
Yeah, I would just say we spend a lot of time in prayer. Intimacy is a big deal for us. Okay, so we don't just go out and just do stuff. We spend time with the Lord. We pray, and then we go. And so we actually seek the Lord and ask Him to open up opportunities for this, because the Lord is the one. It is His harvest. And so from that place of recognizing this is His harvest, He is the Lord of the harvest. This is His harvest field, that we will just go and He will present those opportunities. The key thing, like Mike said, is we have to be out and engaged with people, where we are engaged with people everywhere we go. It doesn't turn off. It isn't like we're off. We're never off. We're always out. We're always engaged. We'll meet with people in a shopping mall. We'll meet with people by the side of the road. It doesn't matter. And we use that process that we teach in our training. We use that process that we've developed for the region with simple, serious, spiritual conversations. And it just opens so many doors. I can't tell you how many times, with maybe an Uber driver or maybe just a guy in a store that I'm buying something from, that simple, serious, spiritual conversation then leads to a discovery Bible study that we're starting, that then becomes a group, that then becomes a house church. So we follow that process almost everywhere we go, and we see lots of fruit from it.
Yeah, I was trying to find an image that I can show here of the process. Like, so this was I don't know if you guys can see. So that is on a rooftop in Pakistan, and our people are worshiping and praying over the city in Pakistan. Lord, take this city, bring people of peace, and just thanking the Lord for who He is and who we are in Him, and that's how it started. And then from that, two random women knock on the door, and they opened the door, and Mark was there, and they opened the door. They're like, "Do you need a ride somewhere?" And they were like, "No, we need Jesus." And it's like, okay, like, quick, come in. It's not common for that, but they tell the story of how they've been having dreams for the last few days. Angels were coming to them and telling them to come find them, and they shared that with their husbands, and their husbands were trying to kill them because they thought they were demon possessed. And they finally found the people that they were told to find. So just in that process, they get baptized and they have an experience with God, and our team sends them off. But ultimately, worship and prayer, like God is the one who moves, and we are partnering with the Lord, because we can do a whole lot of ministry without the Lord, right? I think everyone on the chat can say yes and amen. And we don't want to do anything without the presence of God. It's too risky, and ultimately it's not going to be fruitful. We don't want to be just doing a bunch of work. We want to be impactful, because we believe in an experience, having an encounter with God. Because once you taste and see, because we're here in the West, being a believer, faith is cheap, but the faith here, it costs them everything. It costs people everything. So it takes an encounter with God, a true encounter and a transformation with God, and they're willing to do anything and lay their lives down. So that's why what Mark said about we approach everything with we proclaim the Lord and we move God's heart, and then as he moves, we move.
All right. Brenda asks, in light of the rules in Israel that limit how long you can stay, how long can you all stay?
Well, first I'll say it's indigenous disciple makers, right? We're not.
They don't have to leave.
Yeah, we don't have to leave. So this is the beauty of it. And again, there's no plan B, and they're passionate about reaching their people for Jesus. So we're not missionaries. There's differences between missionaries and disciple makers. I don't know if you want to unpack that, Mark. But yeah, there's a lot of issues when it comes to Westerners or missionaries coming into Israel. It's definitely limited.
Israel actually is one of the tightest countries to come into with missionaries. It actually is. They have harder rules in Israel than they do in most Muslim countries. So our people are indigenous local people that live there that can't be removed from the ground. So they have unlimited extended stay and can access anywhere, because that's how we do business and stay successful in countries, because they can't kick out their own people. They can kick out Western missionaries, but they can't kick out their own people. So it's a blessing. As the Lord opens their eyes, we equip them to multiply within their own country.
Yeah, I'll tell this one story of one of our leads over there, and the war happened, and bombs were going off, and they're like, their wedding, they were engaged, and their wedding was like in a year, and they're like, you know what, let's get married, and they live stream their wedding, and there's bombs going off, and they're under, just they're all in their wedding stuff, and you've seen like just explosions, and it was just beautiful, just a wonderful picture of in the midst of chaos, the Lord is unifying, and there's a wedding going on, right? There is new life and unity going on, in the building up of family going on in the midst of this chaos, and Iron Dome explosions going on. But yeah, it's definitely, I would say, even we were told by Christian organizations how we shouldn't proselytize, or they wouldn't support us proselytizing or making disciples there in Israel. So it's definitely difficult to do it, but we just do it, and wherever the Lord leads,
All right. Next question. Michael asks, are you guys using the DBS process in these regions?
So 11 minutes, time clock. So Mark, you want to hit this?
Yeah, 100%. We use the DBS process in this region. It looks slightly different than maybe we would present it in the West. There are some things that we add in, but we use the DBS process. We use the same process that we have in our book, the same things that you see in the Forgotten Manifesto, the same questions, and the same creation to Christ model in these regions. So it is very common. This is what we do. We have different entry points with different discussions in our simple, serious, spiritual conversations, and some things we do differently in different contexts in different countries. But the main thrust of what we do is the discovery Bible study process. We do it in every country.
Yeah, and just some nuances there, like he said, like in Myanmar and Israel, we'll actually start with Jesus. We'll start in the New Testament, whereas in the Arab world, you start in creation. And in
Yeah.
other areas like India, you start with creation. Because in the Arab world, if you start with Jesus, again, you don't want to do that. So there's contextualization in how we approach it. But I just, even unpacking discovery, like DBS, Discovery Bible Study, for the ones who don't know, it's a process of discovery instead of lecture. The difference is discovery versus lecture. So if you understand kind of the teaching pyramid, the different ways that you teach somebody or how we learn. The retention rates of a lecture is about 5% retention. It's good to motivate and move people and get people going. But when you ask, it's like, oh, so what'd you hear in the sermon? Oh man, I was rocked. And, just the sermon was so amazing. Okay, what'd you hear? It's like, nah, I don't know, I don't remember. But they were moved by it. So it's a 5% retention. But in a discovery process, discourse, back and forth, questions and answers, about an 80 to 90% retention rate. So in disciple making a disciple, we believe the discovery process is stronger in making a disciple. And that's one of the core essence of the second book that we're writing. We're going to unpack this a little more and really go into the gathering of believers even further.
All right. Way to go. Okay. Next question. Can you share specific prayer requests for the ministry?
Mark?
Yeah, I can give you a couple really big prayer requests for the safety of our people in every country right now, for their safety and but safety really is relevant to them. So what we would declare safe, a lot of them just want to have safety so that they can enter in access to preach the gospel, to bring this method we're talking about in. So when I say safety, they're not trying to be like, oh, we don't want to get hurt. They know that there's a risk. Every one of them have laid down their lives to go into very high risk areas. But we pray that God protects them, that God would go before them, that he would open a door that no man can shut. But also pray for supernatural boldness, because in Acts, they didn't pray for safety. They prayed for boldness, that they would enter into places with boldness. And so we have a bold bunch of people that are bold and fearless, from single moms to people who are in their 50s and 60s, running out there with everything they have into some of the most dangerous places on earth, and that they would be protected by the Lord, but bold in their faith. And I think always for financial resources, that we would have no lack in any area, in any country, that every need and every resource is always provided.
Yeah, and I'll add, in the UK, so we've broken the world into 8 regions. We are active with coaches in 6 of the 8 regions. We're developing the other 2 regions right now, but our European region is popping off, is doing some amazing things. They just gathered together last week, and we have teams in the UK, in Norway, Germany, France, Italy, just all throughout Europe, and they're making disciples, and there's movements happening, just starting, the fruits just starting there. Also, last week we have 70 in South America, in Costa Rica, and kind of the surrounding countries that they're gathering. They're really interested in how to make disciples, and these are pastors and leaders, and we have a volunteer kind of spearheading that up. And so pray for them. Pray for that. Again, we want to live out this faith boldly with power and with faith in the Lord. We don't want to give up our authority to religious systems or to fear or any of that stuff. We want to walk boldly with the Lord, as Mark said within the prayer of being bold, and may we have encounters with God and not just settle for just an intellectual thing, knowing about a thing, but actually experiencing. We can experience Him. So just pray that just for believers, and then specifically within the West, within America. We are seeing a rise of Islam really globally. We've been saying we're fighting a war on two fronts. We have the war front and then the home front, and we're seeing just a rise of Islam in America. We saw what happened in Dearborn and Minnesota and New York now, and these types of things, and just little by little. You probably, for following us on social media, then we're just really just trying to post and expose the nature of Islam. We've tasted the nature of Islam. We have people in prison, and we've had people killed. There has we've tasted it, and but again, they're not out of the reach of the Lord. So, but when it comes to praying for the West, praying for America, I think that's it's very unique. The church in the West is in a unique kind of situation when it comes to the purification of the church here in the West. But it's not about bashing. It's about, what is the Lord doing? What is the Lord saying? I believe He's really testing His followers. And are we idolizing churches and leaders? And are we relying on these things, or are we relying on Him? Are we idolizing things we shouldn't be idolizing? And I think He's really trying to test and expose these things, the idols in our hearts. So I think praying over America, what does the church look like? How can we shift? How can we do better? And then just as GCM, how do we enter into that and build on-ramps? And Amy and I have given our lives for the local church for 25 years. And so we love the local church, and we haven't asked for anything. Everything is always for free. We just serve leaders and the communities that the Lord just opens up for us, because we care deeply for the local church. But I do believe that we're in a season, and we have some things kind of in the works. Q1 of next year when it comes to America specifically, and because I think we have a unique perspective to how we can engage Muslims, but also lost people here in America. I'll share one more stat, and then we can go to the next question. 96% of all church growth in America is transfer growth. That means church hopping. 96% of growth. So no one's reaching lost people. So if you're seeing Islam rising, it's because we're not engaging with lost people around us.
All right, we only have a couple minutes. Here we go. What are the current worker missionary opportunities in the Middle East now or upcoming?
I would say this: we do have an opportunity for people to get trained in the region, and we do that, and we train anywhere from 24 to 30 people a year, and they're fully immersed in the environment, and they run alongside us, and they're fully trained. It's a very small group because it's very intimate. It's very intense. It is not a classroom environment. It is a field environment where you are fully immersed into this process that we're talking about all day, all the time. So we have 3 more classes next year that are open. They run in the spring, in the summer, and in the fall. So if you're interested in that, just send a message, and we can get you plugged in some way to that process.
Yeah, so if you want to sign up for that, if you go to our website, catalyticministries.com, you can scroll down to the bottom. You can sign up for our newsletter there, but you can also select, go on a mission trip or whatever the language is, be trained. I don't know. You can just select whatever form that is, and then Mark will get it there. And it is small, and this is missionaries, Western missionaries, being trained in how to make disciples in intense areas. And we are able to bring you into the region, and we do it pretty much quarterly, and he runs kind of that operation, because again, it's not just indigenous. I believe there is a place for Western missionaries. I believe that it's unique. So just how do we just leverage as much as we can, the best we can in the region, and learn and use what we can. So yeah, that's all I got. That's
Like we said in the beginning, we work with multiple orgs. We work together, and we work with people across borders. And so sometimes a Westerner is a force multiplier, and so we'll bring them in. And but the goal is always to raise up indigenous workers that will lead and take over.
right. All right, that's 9 o'clock. That's it. So I don't think we might pause for December. We might do another one in December. We'll see. But in January, we're actually going to have a European one. We're going to have one of our European disciple makers on. We're going to talk about some of the findings within the church, the book that we're writing. We're going to kind of just focus on the church part of it in January. That's probably going to be earlier in the day, around 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or something like that, just so it's focused and geared towards our European regions and kind of that time zone. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. If you want any other questions, again, hit us up, info@catalyticministries.com. Set up a personal meeting with me, and I can speak a little more frankly. All right. See you guys. You can always come back and watch this video later. It'll stay on there as long as you're registered.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. How do you stop this thing? I always forget how to stop this thing. There we go. End broadcast.